Luo Ji, a lonely tyrant who makes his move on the chessboard of the universe. On the disenchantment and reconstruction of the savior myth in the three-body problem, I. The ideological imprint under the prodigal mask, the birth of an anti-hero. On that snowy night in 2007, Luo Ji came out of the classroom of the Department of Philosophy at Peking University wrapped in a mink coat with an unlit cigar in his mouth. He had just driven away 3 graduate students with his violent statement that cosmic sociology has no academic value, but turned around and fell on the ice of Waiming Lake. This absurd opening hinted at his life. A thinker who used cynicism to cover up his edge and was eventually dragged to the altar by fate at the most vulnerable moment of human civilization. 1. The cynical performance of intellectuals. Provocation in the classroom. He used the Pauli curse method to deconstruct serious academics and put Critique of Pure Reason and Playboy on the same reading list. Disguise in the love field. He played a superficial literary youth in front of his girlfriend by Rome, but wrote 3 fairy tales to metaphor the truth of the universe after breaking up. Alienation in the academic circle. Refusing to join the scientific frontier, claiming that truth is like underwear, everyone has it, but does not need to show it. Under this exaggerated appearance, there is a keen intuition about the essence of the world. He knows better than anyone that the rationality that humans are proud of is nothing more than a castle on the sand. 2. Ice Lake Epiphany. From nihilist to cosmic chess player. When Yi Wenjie said the axiom of cosmic sociology in front of Yang Dong's tomb, a dead leaf happened to fall into Luo Ji's coffee cup. This afternoon, which was later called the turning point of human civilization, he superficially, perfunctorily followed the old professor's metaphysical theory, but his subconscious mind had already begun to deduce the mathematical model of the dark forest. The near-death experience of falling into the icy lake that night became the catalyst for his spiritual awakening. Suffocation under the ice. A metaphor for the fragile situation of human civilization in the universe, the broken reflection of the starry sky. A symbol of the collapse of the old worldview, the spasm during the struggle, a sign that he will touch the ultimate truth in an irrational way. 2. The Wallfacer Project, a thought experiment of self-exile. On the day he became a wallfacer, Luo Ji vomited in the toilet cubicle of the United Nations building for half an hour. The pale face in the mirror reminded him. The essence of this role-playing is a Russian roulette with the entire human civilization as a bet. 1. The absurd utopia of Mona Lisa Villa. When politicians from various countries were struggling to fight against Sophin, Luo Ji built a manor at the foot of the snow-capped mountains, used the funds of the PDC, Planetary Defense Council, to collect antique furniture, hired Michelin chefs, and even asked the organization to find a dream lover. This seemingly absurd consumerist carnival is actually his spiritual defense against the truth of the universe, hedonistic paralysis, using material feasts to delay the recognition of ultimate responsibility. The metaphor of Zhuang Yan's illusion. The perfect woman he created is actually an idealized mirror of human civilization, the ritual of self-imprisonment. The high walls of the manor are both a protective shield and a cage of thought. 2. Spell experiment. Rolling dice on a cosmic scale. The night when the coordinate broadcast was sent to the 187J3X1 galaxy, Luo Ji drank all the Lafite in the wine cellar. He stared at the starry sky and muttered to himself, "If the universe is a casino, I will go all in today." This action, which is regarded as a farce of the wallfacer, implies amazing logical self-consistency. Gambler's psychology. Using randomness to fight against the certainty of the Trisolarans. Reverse deterrence. When it is unknown whether the threat exists, assume that the dark forest law is established. Humanity experiment. Test whether humans are willing to accept unknown fear as a defense strategy. 3. Dark forest law. Deconstructing cosmic morality with hunter logic. When Luo Ji dug out a revolver in front of Yi Wenjie's tomb, ants under the snow were crawling along the barrel. This existentialist scene foreshadows that he will use the most primitive violent aesthetics to write an epitaph for cosmic civilization. 1. The birth of deterrence game theory. Muzzle to temple. Self-destruction is preset as a bargaining chip, reviving the mutually assured destruction strategy in the Cold War. Cradle system. Bind the gravitational wave transmitter to the heartbeat so that the Trisolarans can hear the buzzing of the sword of Damocles at all times. Swordholder paradox. The more cruel you are like a tyrant, the more you can maintain peace. This is a complete subversion of the concept of good and evil in human nature. 2. Literary puzzle solving of cosmic axioms. Luo Ji's deduction manuscripts are interspersed with annotations of Dream of Red Mansions and game strategies of Three-Body Problem. This cross-dimensional thinking jump reveals his unique path to crack the dark forest, using Dayu's burial of flowers to analogize the annihilation of civilization. The nature is pure and will return to purity corresponds to the return of the universe to zero. Interpreting the art of deterrence by Guan Yu's single-handed meeting. The attitude of a lone brave is the strongest negotiation capital, translating AIAA's fairy tale into a game theory equation, wrapping the cruel truth with innocent language. 4. The Sword-Bearer Era, walking the tightrope between divinity and animality. In the deterrence era, Luo Ji lived in a bunker 10 kilometers deep underground, and the room was filled with copies of Picasso's Guernica. When the visitor asked about the meaning of these distorted human figures, he stroked the gravitational wave switch and smiled. This is the mirror of the universe. 1. The spiritual landscape of the dictator. Time perception alienation. In his 54-year sword-wielding career, he controlled his heartbeat to 45 beats per minute to extend the deterrence time. Language function degradation. In order to reduce emotional fluctuations, daily communication only uses Morse code to knock on the wall. Humanity, stripping experiment. Regularly watch the video of cannibalism during the Great Depression to prevent yourself from being soft-hearted. 2. The mirror prisoner of the three-body civilization. When the holographic projection of Jizi appeared in the control room, the dialogue between the two civilizations was full of black humor. Luo Ji. You are not afraid of me, but the unspoken rules that all hunters abide by. Jizi. You have turned yourself into the embodiment of the rules, which is very inhuman. Silent consensus. Both sides know that the existence of the sword wielder itself is an artistic interpretation of the law of the dark forest. V. Secondary martyrdom. The transformation of identity from tyrant to gravekeeper. On the day he handed over the gravitational wave switch, Luo Ji stopped in front of the bronze door of the Pluto Earth Museum. He touched the relief of human civilization on the door and suddenly remembered the cigar box that was smashed when he was young. Those scattered tobacco leaves have now turned into metal clouds that carry the memory of the earth. 1. The theological meaning of the tombstone plan. The two-dimensionalization of Van Gogh's Starry Night, using art to eternally fight against dimensionality reduction attacks. The radiation resistance of the stone carvings of the Book of Songs, implying that language is more immortal than matter. Luo Ji's final message. Carve the words on the stone. This is a tragic return to the survival mode of primitive civilization. 2. The immortality of thought in the two-dimensional solar system. When the death-white light of the two-dimensional foil engulfed Pluto, Luo Ji did not start the curvature spacecraft. This choice completes his spiritual cycle. Symmetry with Yi Wenjie. The former sends a signal to the universe to start the disaster, and the latter guards the tombstone at the end of the disaster. The ultimate response to Zhuang Yan. Using the destruction of human civilization to prove that he has never betrayed the idealized beauty. The ultimate annotation of the dark forest. Only by acknowledging the darkness can the glimmer of light show its meaning. Epilogue. The eternal fable of hunters, deer, and forests. In the 647th microcosm at the end of time, the zeroer may include such a civilization file. Earth civilization once gave birth to a madman who walked through the arsenal with a candle in his hand. He neither ignited the ammunition nor let the candle go out, but used melted wax to cast the gun into a candlestick. Luo Ji's story tells us, the real deterrence is not the display of force but the precise grasp of the aesthetics of destruction. In the dark forest, the one who survives to the end is not necessarily the strongest civilization, but the hunter who understands silence the most. Those saviors who are scolded as tyrants often carve the deepest survival code for civilization on the blade of human nature and animal nature.